Good morning, everybody. I'm back for grape tomato harvest. It's 2 days later, and we missed a day. We ran out of time the other day, and now we're picking again in the tall greenhouse number 1, and it looks halfway decent. But now we're going to have a huge pick in here because we normally pick Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today's Friday, so we missed Wednesday's pick. Fortunately, it was cloudy, cold and cloudy out, so maybe they didn't ripen up as fast as I would have expected. However, sometimes you run the risk of maybe overwatering a little bit when it's cold and cloudy out, and they'll pump all that water into the fruit, and then you can have some splits, especially on the really red, ripe ones. Hoping that's not the case today. But as soon as all my employees show up, we're going to get the picking in here. I have a good feeling about today's pick. I think it's going to be pretty good. I'll show you that process of how we pick our grape tomatoes and how we get them packed and rolled into the tomato cooler. While I'm waiting for everybody to show up to help harvest these grape tomatoes, I thought I'd mention what's going on out here in our vegetable field. Our 8-acre vegetable field that we lay plastic mulch drip tape on raised beds. It's not looking good. Here we are, May 10th, and fortunately I did get a light disking done out there. I tried to disc deep, that's 6-7 inches deep, so I could form my beds, and it was pulling up too many muddy chunks. So I just lightly disked about 2 to 3 inches down just to try to smooth everything out there, kill all the weeds that were coming up, and hopefully allow it to dry out. And then right after I disked, it rained that night, and it rained all day yesterday, off and on. So it is a muddy mess, and I'm starting to lose hope that we're going to get our plastic down in time to plant our transplants, which is normally done in the middle of May. And here we are, May 10th. It's going to take me only about a half day to lay that plastic, but we're days away from that drying out. That's if it doesn't rain anymore. And then after I lay it, I have to spray it and wait for another rain to come and kind of wash off the plastic. So we spray across the top of the whole field, just broadcast it over the plastic, over the drive rows, the aisleways between the plastic, everywhere. And then the rain washes it off the plastic, and then we transplant. So it could potentially be another week before I can get out there, get the plastic, disc, get the plastic down and spray, and then start transplanting. So it's going to be one of those years, almost like 2019. Hopefully not quite as bad as that. I think it was May 23rd or May 27th before I was even able to disc, and the weeds were knee high. It was a disastrous year of getting things out early. Everything turned out okay. Everything was just a little bit late. But this year has historically warm soils. This would have been the year to have everything transplanted by now and done here on May 10th. That's not a good feeling. It's just one of the risks that comes with produce farming, and with any kind of farming, really. It is what it is. We'll keep praying for dry, sunny weather so we can get out there and get caught up. So we're in the grape house harvesting currently, and we use 2 hands, even though I'm just using one because my other hand's holding the camera. We take the green stem off, the calyx, and throw them into this yellow picking tub. Color-wise, this color right here will be ready for our next pick. So we're picking the dark stuff like that. Sometimes you gotta pull the branches back to see them, and sometimes they're on the other side of the row. That's why we pick both sides of the row. Because sometimes you can't reach the ones on the other side, and if you wiggle your hand back in there, you're gonna end up knocking off other ripe fruit onto the ground that you'll have to pick up, or you'll knock off green immature fruit. It's almost like picking raspberries or strawberries. Sometimes the green calyx will come off with the tomato, and we just pop that off with our fingers, kind of like picking our red round tomatoes, and then throw them in the tub. We also use these picking lugs sometimes. So it still allows you to use both hands because the lug, oh, you see that? That one's split. I don't like to see that. And it's probably because it's been cold and cloudy and they got a little bit too much water during their watering cycle. So we don't want to pack those because they will mold in the pints while continuing to ripen before we go to farmer's market. So we can just dump those into our picking lug. It's actually pretty convenient using these. The thing is, it fills up fairly quickly and you're constantly going back and forth and dumping it. Definitely more convenient to use the wheelbarrow and tubs, but I don't have enough wheelbarrows to have one in every row when we have like 7, 8, 10 kids in here picking. Today there's only going to be 4 of us, so we all have a wheelbarrow to use, and I prefer the wheelbarrow option over the little picking tote. It's probably hard to see all the grape tomatoes in here, but it's pretty loaded today. I mean, when you get up there close and look inside the plant, you can see a lot of red. Still not going to be a super heavy pick, but it's definitely going to be decent today, especially since we missed picking 2 days ago. Yeah, there's some nice looking fruit out here. Another thing we do while we're walking down the aisle is when we see branches hanging out with clusters of tomatoes on them, we will tuck them back up in the plant. I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand, but you get the idea. I'll tuck it back up in there and try to hang it into the string so it continues to grow up in the plant and not fall down on the ground and get stepped on or get dirty. So the plants are looking really nice. I actually need to string them again. I think I got room to string 2 more times. So there's the last stringing, and I still have about 13, 14 inches left on this PVC pipe. And you can see the plant tops are dangling pretty good. So I'm gonna run a string maybe right there, and then next week I'll do one final stringing at the very top. The plants should not continue to grow much taller. I'm really surprised at how tall they're getting. Usually this is where they stop growing because these are determinate tomatoes. So they have a determined height. They're not indeterminate where they grow and grow and grow all season long as the light and heat is where they need it. So these should be about topped out where they're at now. Hopefully they don't grow too much taller. If they do grow above the top stringing, we'll just let them flop over, but they won't flop over much. They might flop over maybe a foot or 2, and then they'll definitely stop growing. And by that time of the year, it's probably mid-July, and we're wrapping up our harvest in here anyway, so not that big of a deal. The bigger deal is controlling thrips, spider mites, and cracked fruit. If the thrips and spider mites get out of control in here, it hinders proper photosynthesis, or for the leaves to take up the sunlight. And I noticed that when there's damage to the leaves, you got less green leaf color because there's damage to them from insects, and more water will get pumped into the fruit instead of into the plant and the leaf tissue and the stems and stalks and all that. And that's when we start seeing split fruit. And it always happens every year, early mid-July. And I mentioned this in a prior video. When we start seeing handfuls and handfuls, gobs and pints of split fruit, we just have to call it quits. And I've tried to correct it and remedy the problem by picking less ripe fruit, watering them less, keeping it cooler in here. No matter what I do, it still happens. So it's still something I have yet to figure out. If you know why this is happening and you are a tomato grower, please tell me down below in the comments. I would love to try to remedy this problem come mid-July when we're still picking tons and tons of tomatoes in here. Because if we can get this problem figured out, maybe we'll pick them to the end of July. But once melons come on, there's just no room on the tables at the farmers markets. Plus, everybody and their brother is growing their own cherry and grape tomatoes, and other farmers are bringing them. So the demand for them is far less, and it's just not worth the effort and the labor cost to keep picking them and feeding them. All right, we're all finished up with grape tomatoes. Gonna get them up to the barn and get them packed. Not too bad of a pick today. 4 yellow tubs full. Decent harvest today of red round tomatoes and grape tomatoes. Still not enough to do 6 farmers markets, but we're getting there. I think after picking next week, we'll have a pretty good stockpile in the tomato cooler and have enough to start doing some markets on May 18th, and I'm pretty sure we'll be in good shape by May 25th. All finished packing for the day. A little better pick, 132 pints of grape tomatoes and 36 boxes of red round tomatoes. So getting better, but still not good enough. Some of our smaller farmers markets, that would be enough for a one Saturday market. Some of our bigger ones, that's only about half of what we need to get through one 3 or 4 hour farmers market. So hopefully they start ramping up a little bit more, and our other greenhouse will be coming on soon, and that will be good because that will definitely be needed once we get into early June. Oh, I wanted to show you how many splits we had from this pick. I have never experienced split grape tomatoes like this early in the season, so I'm not sure what's going on. It's a little concerning. It's out of 132 pints that were picked today, here's approximately 6, I'm guessing. So, I mean, these are great tomatoes. I'm not going to throw these out. I'll take a pint in for eating and see if any of my employees want to take them home. So there's nothing wrong with them. They just have a split down the side of the tomato. And if I pack these and keep them in the cooler for a couple weeks, they will possibly start to mold and ruin the entire rest of the pint. So I need to get to the bottom of this. I'm already trying something different. I went into the computer that controls all the irrigation cycles, and I'm going to delay the first irrigation cycle in the morning by an hour. So instead of 9, quarter after 9, it's going to be quarter after 10. That way the plants are fully photosynthesizing and actively growing during the day before the first watering cycle starts. Maybe they're just getting watered a little too soon before they're actively, before they're ready for all that water, and they're just letting it go directly into the fruit, and that's what's causing it. And I'm also stopping it an hour earlier in the evening. So instead of going till 6:48, I think is when the last cycle is for the grape house, 6:45, 7 o'clock, I'm backing it up an hour. So about 5:45 is going to be the last cycle, which I don't think that's the problem because there's a lot of daylight left after that. The days are getting longer. So I would think that letting it go till 6:30, 7 o'clock should be fine, but you never know. I'm willing to try anything at this point to get a handle on this before it gets out of hand and gets worse. So again, if you guys have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments and I'll take a look at them and maybe we can get to the bottom of this once and for all. Alrighty folks, that's a wrap on our first halfway decent tomato harvest of 2024. Lots of awesome farming content still coming your way. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, and if you enjoy the content, please give it a thumbs up. We got plastic mulch delay, transplanting, loading box trucks, selling at farmers markets, harvesting all kinds of vegetables on our farm. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, please follow us throughout this growing season of 2024 and beyond. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you all again real soon down on the farm.